Hey there, welcome to the DFS Build NBA edition. This is a crazy 9-game main slate over at DraftKings. I'm Kevin, that is Taylor, and hopefully we can navigate it and lead you to some winning plays. If you want finalized core plays for this slate, hit up dfsbuild.com. Just $5.99 a month for everything that we do, plus NFL, MMA, and MLB when it is in season. If you just want more free advice, listen to the rest of this video. And of course, join us in Discord. The link is in the description of this video and on our YouTube page. If anything we do here helps you out, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and come join us in Discord, like I said. All right, so we go game by game. But boy, oh boy, this is a really big slate with a ton of injury news. Giannis, gone. Caden, Jalen Duren, probably gone. They were not at shoot-around. And Cade's coming off that big 31 miss shot game. Just a lot of studs just removed from the player pool, really. Then you have questionable guys like Giddey and Ja and some other guys that normally would want to play maybe, and we're just going to have to look at the value instead. So lots to like in terms of mid-range and second-tier plays because of that. But let's start it out with the Giannis list Bucks. Who you dig in for Milwaukee? A lot of these guys are going to be owned, and a lot of them look pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's it's a pretty tough situation. They still have a lot of like guards and wings that are going to get usage in the spot. I think the guy that I want the most is Kuzma, which kind of tells you all you need to know about this value. Like, he's not very good, but historically he's pretty good. He can score, he'll get usage. The one game Giannis missed, Kuzma started and played like 36 minutes. So if they do that again, I think at 5'2" with small forward eligibility, like, it's hard for me to get away from that. And they're playing the Hornets, so it's like an awesome spot. So yeah, he's my favorite play from Milwaukee by a decent margin. I think Ryan Rollins at 6'1", like, the usage is going to flow through him. He had a huge game. The last one, Antetokounmpo missed. Again, a good spot earlier. So Rollins looks good. I think you can make a case for Cole Anthony under 5K. Miles Turner's a little expensive. I think he's playable. I think not a great center slate on DK. It's better on FanDuel where you have like Jokic and stuff. But, you know, Turner's fine. I think Bobby Portis is probably going to be mega chalk, as he usually is when Giannis is out. We've talked about this before, where the first game Giannis missed, Portis came off the bench, played 19 minutes. Turner played 29 minutes. So they split the center minutes right down the middle. They did not share the floor. They've only shared the floor for 17 minutes all season. So unless Portis randomly starts, and obviously he looks better in that scenario, I think there's a decent chance he's just playing normal Bobby Portis minutes off the bench. He can still get you 30 or whatever. Like, he could still be worth to play at 5'5". But if he's super chalky, I do not mind getting away from him.
Yeah, I said in Discord, I think it's going to be so wide open on this slate, so much good value, and also not that many studs that we should feel compelled to go get, that I will definitely be very selective as far as which value I do play. I think all these Bucks guys you mentioned, they're all fair plays. Like, you could certainly talk me into any of them. But if like Kyle Kuzma is going to be chalky, I'm okay with getting away from that. If Bobby Portis doesn't start and is going to be mega chalk, I'm okay with getting away from that. I think the guy that makes the most sense is Ryan Rollins. Weird to see that like he already was coming in with like a 31 or 32 point projection because, you know, Hornets. And then Giannis is out and he barely moves. So I would take the over on his projection right now. A little bit too cheap for the role and the productivity he's had. And obviously the matchup is awesome. And then Miles Turner, like, I'm okay paying 6.2 for Miles Turner without Giannis. Like, that's a big usage bump. And the Hornets are a really, really good matchup. So those are the two guys I would start with personally. But if Bobby does start, 5'5" Bobby starting, that would be very hard to get away from personally. I see the Kuz love. It's just like he hasn't been very good. So I'm okay going away from that for sure. On the other side, we do have a lot more to be interested in as well because obviously no LaMelo Ball. Miles Bridges looks really good at 8.6K, solid projection. Nipple, his projection earlier in the day was like at 41. So I was like, yeah, that's a core play. Like, his projection was amazing. It's dipped considerably, but I still think he's a solid play at 6'6". I would probably at this point take the over on his projection. But if he's going to be that owned at that price at where the projection's falling right now, I'm okay getting away from that. So obviously, given all the news, He is no longer like a absolute must for me. He's not a core play, but he is a decent play. Colin Sexton at 6.5. I don't think I'm going to do that. I'd much rather play Khan. And then Diabate with Kalkbrenner getting the midday questionable tag. That is definitely interesting. If he starts at 4-5, I'd imagine he would. He would get a significant boost here. Maybe not the value center we feel like we have to play on this slate, but certainly one that looks pretty good if that situation presents itself.
Yeah, I agree about Knipple. Shooting guard small forward is very handy with so few options that have positionality these days. He's getting expensive, but the role without Melo and Miller has been huge. He's playing like
awesome.
upwards of 40 minutes a night also.
Yeah.
He's a rookie. There are a lot of ways things can go south for a rookie. They're just kind of inherently volatile. So paying full price for him is a little bit risky. I'm getting a decent amount of him. I was getting more earlier before the honest stuff hit, and there's other stuff that's going to hit. I assume that will probably make him lower owned, but still a good play. Bridges, same thing, 8,600, no issue with that. You're going to want some of the Hornets if you're playing multiple pieces from Milwaukee and just hope the game shoots out. So Knipple and Bridges are the primary pieces. I think Sexton's okay. I like that he has shooting guard at least. Diabate's fine if Kalkbrenner is out. I don't love the matchup against Miles Turner, who just kind of floats around the perimeter, kind of pulling Diabate away from the basket, but he's cheap. He's a good per minute guy, so if he starts, he's fine.
Yeah, Baddest123 chimes in here, says Miles Bridges, 45 fantasy points. I don't disagree with that. I think like Knipple is like a little bit more interesting in terms of, you can use my guard or forward, and he's obviously 2K cheaper than Bridges. I'm souring on him a little bit just because of all the value that opened up. I do like him quite a bit. Like, the thing is, though, you can treat this slate as if Miles Bridges is your top stud and like go play like him, maybe Denny, some other guys a little bit below them, but you don't have to go get a Wemby or a Şengün, I don't think, like given all the solid options we have on a 9-game slate.
Looks like Bridges, should get that if he gets you 40 to 45.
Right.
He's not like winning the slate for you. That's like
no. Yeah, you need like 55 or something for him to really pay off, but that is certainly doable. Like he can definitely do that.
Yeah. But if 40 to 45 is like, oh, he's going to get that, like I'm excited about that. Like, well, that's what he should get. That's like his 50th percentile outcome.
Yeah, that's like basically at this price point and the role he has, that's his floor. If he doesn't get you 40 to 45, you're going to be very, very sad. So
you're very cooked.
Yeah, for sure. If I'm playing Bridges, I'm definitely eyeing a 50 burger. If he gives me 50 fantasy points, I feel good. And if he really taps into his ceiling, he could wreck the slate. And that's why you would be playing him at that price. Chicago and Detroit, interesting game. If Cade and Duren don't play, Giddey is also questionable. Honestly, pretty interesting game, even if they do play. Cade shot 45 times en route to 46 points in his last game. Egregious, 31 misses. But hey, for fantasy purposes, 93 fantasy points. Given the state of the slate, if Cade is like randomly still in, that's a tough fade. He is 10.9K, cheaper than Wemby, and all of a sudden we don't have Giannis and some other guys. There just isn't anybody else that has that type of floor and ceiling. And if he's actually going to shoot 40 times in a game, if that possibility exists that he would do it again, he has to be on a radar. We'll get to them in a second, though. On the other side, Giddey does look good still if he's in. He's got an ankle thing, so I doubt he plays. If he's out, Vooch gets a bump, and then we're looking at Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, Ayo Dosunmu. Those guys all would look fine again, and then Buzelis obviously would be in play still at 5'8". I don't think right now I feel like any of them are must, but if Giddey doesn't play, they would look pretty good.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised Giddey sat out the last game. When he hurt his ankle, he returned to the game and played like the rest of the way. So I kind of thought he'd be fine. I feel like he's going to play. Obviously, I don't know. He's questionable for a reason. So if he's going to like him a little bit, still under 10K. Like he should probably be 10K by now, but he's not. I like him better if Duren is out, taking away some of the rim protection for Detroit. Like you said, if he's out, Ayo, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter look pretty good. Vucevic is pretty interesting if Duren is out. He's fine either way. Like he's under 8K. I think that's a decent center play on a slate with a lot of stars. But otherwise, not it's like if he's in, it's Giddey and nothing else for me from Chicago. I don't really love the spot.
Yeah, if Giddey's out though, Trey Jones on this slate at 6'4" wouldn't feel that overpriced. He was pretty darn good in the last game, 42 fantasy points. You would get all the playmaking and extra usage, so he would look really interesting. Io loses his small forward eligibility, so I think I would lean Kev over him. But it's pretty close in terms of price and like projections. So we got to wait on the Giddey news. If Giddey is in, like we're losing studs left and right, so suddenly Giddey would look very appealing, even though he's pushing 10K. Not the same priority for me that he normally would be, but like you just said, if you don't have Dern, if you don't have Cade, Detroit's normally stingy defense would, sulk considerably. So Giddey would have an easier path to a better projection and points. All right, so on the other side, if Cade is in, tough to ignore that. Okay, so no doubt about it. I wasn't in on him on the other day when he nuked. That was sad to see. I didn't have Cade, did have Ron Holland. So you can imagine how my night went. And then Duran, if he's in 8-3, obviously they both look really good. The Bulls are not a good defensive team, and they like to push the pace. So they look great, but they did not appear at shoot around. And just like the tea leaves are kind of suggesting they're not going to play. If they are indeed out, we're going to get big boosts for everybody. We're looking at Paul Reed. We're looking at Jenkins. We're looking at Javonte Green, Ron Holland season again, possibly. I think right now, Reed and Jenkins are the two guys that I'd feel the best about, which feels really gross and bad to say. But Jenkins nuked the other day or in their last game. It would obviously step into a huge role, assuming he gets the starting nod. And then Reed with no Isaiah Stewart either. You would think he starts and gets a lot of minutes at 3-9. That is a very tough fade all of a sudden.
Yeah, and he's a pretty good per minute guy historically.
Yeah.
So I think that, I prefer that to Diabate if they both start. Chicago just bleeds points in the paint.
Right.
So it's an awesome spot for Duran if he's in. He's over 8K now, but he's earned it. No Stewart, elite matchup against Chicago. So I have a lot of interest in Duran if he plays. If he doesn't, Paul Reed I think is a good play. I'm still concerned he's not going to see 30 minutes, but even 25 is probably enough at that salary to pay off. Bobby Clintman, I guess, would be the backup in that situation. If you want to that Paul Reed shot and play Bobby Clintman instead of 3-1, small forward, power forward, I think that's somewhat interesting. If you're
in the name of Danny Wolf, no, thank you.
Well, at least Clintman was in the rotation in the last game, so there's precedent for him getting some minutes, unlike Danny Wolf.
Yeah, precedent is an important word these days. I'm scarred. I'm scarred from taking a shot on bench asses now. I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. Why it's a play. I think Javonte, at 4-7, guard forward eligible, tons of minutes in the last game. Same injury situation without Asar, without Tobias Harris. Is Karis LeVert available? He is, but he's probably.
It sounds like he is. You were saying in Discord how he's probably going to be limited. So, good price.
Yeah, he
probably
hasn't,
a good role when
he
he's
hasn't
out
played
there.
more than 21 minutes all season. So I kind of doubt he's going to get extended here much.
Right.
He might play 25 and he's under 5K. So that's okay. I just don't know if you're getting a ceiling off that. Purely a play if Cade is out. And even then, I'm not sold on that. I think Dennis Jenkins would pretty clearly be the play you'd want.
What about this guy?
You can talk about if Duran and Cade are out, I guess you can talk me into Ron Holland again.
Dude,
he can't be as bad as he was the other night.
Not only that, he had 4 fouls. First of all, he still played 23 minutes despite the foul trouble. But Cade took 45 shots. Just naturally, no Cade or Duran, Holland's going to get more usage. I think he's an awesome tournament play if nobody wants to play him at that price. Great matchup. He is a talented player. And all of a sudden, they have nobody reliable taking shots. I think he's a great play. And recency bias, too. I don't think anybody wants to play him. So he's interesting. Baddest 1, 2, 3. Thanks for chiming in, man. Pretty Paul Reed gonna be chalky. Yeah, I think we're okay with the Paul Reed chalk because of the price point, the matchup, and the fact that the only other bigs they have are 2 no names. And he is a good permanent player. So I think we're pretty aligned there. I don't want to play Ron Holland, but I think on this slate, he actually is kind of interesting, assuming this goes the way we think it's going to go. Any interest in Duncan Robinson at 5K?
Yeah, I think that's a very similar play to Holland. If Cade is out, there's going to be a ton of usage available. No Ivy, no Tobias either. Potentially no Duran. he's someone who's happy to shoot. He's not going to initiate his own shots, so the lack of playmaking might not help him. But I don't think it's a dissimilar play to Holland. For Devontae, I just kind of trust that he's going to do things when he's out there more than Duncan Robinson. But you're getting into some really gross stuff with this Detroit value, so pretty much anyone's viable in that scenario.
All right. Next game is one that is going to get overlooked. Not maybe. It's going to get overlooked because the way this slate is going. You have Orlando visiting the Knicks at Madison Square Garden. Banchero is not going to get ownership. Franz Wagner, Desmond Bane. None of these guys are really going to get major steam. Bane is picking up a little bit of ownership because he's only 6.2K. Like, really, I don't want to do this, but I think Banchero is interesting because we're kind of losing, viable studs to pay for. So in an MSG setting, in a game where nobody wants to play, I think Banchero is kind of an interesting GPP play. But beyond that, I'm not really on the Magic.
It's just a rough spot. Like, Banchero and Franz have to get to the rim, essentially. And New York with Mitchell Robinson is about as tough as it gets protecting the rim. So I see the potential and the reason for getting there, but I'm probably not doing it on this slate. I do think Jalen Suggs is a really, really good value. 4,700. He played almost 29 minutes in the last game, which was a season high for him by a long shot. So assuming his minutes limit is kind of less of a limit, I think at 4.7 with all the other value at guard, especially, like, he's going to be overlooked, I would think, by the time lock rolls around. And I do think there's ceiling to be had with him. So don't mind Suggs. I think Bane is okay, like you said, just because he's shooting guard, but he's been so horrible that I'm not really interested.
Yep, that's fair. All right, other side, Knicks. They played yesterday. Cat nuked. They don't have a very good projection here, even though Magic have been playing pretty fast on the year. Their prices are good, him and Brunson, but the projections don't look amazing. I'm not really in on the Knicks. I guess if I was going to play one of them, it'd be Towns. And again, assuming they play, because it's the second leg of a back-to-back set, Cat might be an overlooked stud here that does offer a ceiling.
Yeah, Orlando's still capable defensively. So they have bigs to throw at Towns. They have Suggs to throw at Brunson. I really don't I don't like this game at all. I think Suggs is a good play. The rest, like the Knicks, I'm not really on. Like, you can always play Brunson or Cat. Anunoby's been pretty good, but he's not getting any cheaper. Yeah, not for me.
No, okay, here's the thing. I don't want to play anybody from this game. I'm probably not going to play anybody from this game. But what I am saying is on 9-game slate, they just don't stand out. So they are really good tourney plays, specifically Banchero and Cat, because they're in that same price range as like a Şengün, who is going to get steam. They're at the same position as somebody like Miles Bridges or Denny, both of which are going to be owned and look really good and are only like $600 cheaper. So for those reasons, I would keep them in my player pool and be a little bit over the field if I was running a lot of lineups. But yeah, if I was doing one lineup, I don't think I'm going to have Cat or really anybody from that game in it. Memphis, Ja Morant is questionable, still a good price. Don't think he got there yesterday. I ended up fading him. Yeah, 33 fantasy points. JJJ, I guess, we get a boost if he's out, but it's not a good spot on the road at TD Garden against the Celtics, who remain good defensively. So everything here kind of sucks. I guess we could get some value with like a Cam Spencer at 4K or something like that. But it's not a really good matchup. I am not loving the Memphis side of this at all.
Memphis has been like the hardest team to get to all year because they're bad and they have a deep rotation and their guys are underperforming.
Those are bad things.
As usual, the Grizzly I like the most is Cedric Coward, who always hovers in the 6K range. He's been good for them. He's guard forward eligible as well, which helps his value. And if Morant is out, I think he's a natural candidate to get more usage. So he's a fine play, but not a core play at all. Mm-hmm. Like, there's so much else to like on the slate that I don't really see the point in chasing Memphis, like a disgruntled Ja Morant, whatever. Like, I don't really want to mess with that against Boston. And even if he's out, like, I don't feel good about Cam Spencer or Javon Small or whoever would like play. Like, they don't have Ty Jerome. Like, maybe when he comes back, that's something we can be interested in. But in the meantime, don't really see the point in messing with this spot.
No, like if Ja is out, I think you can play Cam Spencer with a small semblance of confidence, but I don't think it's necessary. I feel it's too risky given the other value that we already have.
Well,
I
like
will
I'd rather
say,
play Dennis Jenkins even, like
yeah,
if Cade is out. I feel a lot
yeah,
better
or
about
Paul
his
Reed like
minutes.
in the utility or
Yeah.
something. Like you don't need to do that. So I'm saying it would be viable, but it's just unnecessary. Another thing that is not necessary, but I do have a little bit of interest in, if we're looking at a chalky play in this price range, Santi Hive season. The Celtics are good inside. There could potentially be no Ja, and they are just like kind of mid at defending the three. So we could see Santi chucking it, baby. That would be kind of fun at 5-6, but obviously not a priority. Just somebody I'd like to mention for tournaments. And the other side, like if the main Celtics guys are in, it's a good spot for them at home against Memphis. Jaylen Brown will look good per usual. His price never moves. Same with Derek White, Peyton Pritchard. I don't have a problem with them. If I had to play one of them, it's probably going to be Derek White, dollar for dollar. He's the best value out of those three. If you want to play around with Simons or any of these bench guys, especially if like they end up resting Brown or something, Boston could become pretty appealing. But as things stand, I'm not getting anybody really in this game at all.
Yeah, I'm glad my faith in Anthony Simons has kind of paid off. Like he's kind of been bouncing back after his rough streak there for a while. He's still cheap. It's an okay spot, but there's so much other value at guard, especially later once like more stuff opens up. There's really no point in this. There's no ceiling with guys like Derek White or Pritchard. They've just been not very good. Nimish Keita like always pops, but like, okay, here's your 24 fantasy points. Are you really happy with that? Probably not, especially
No.
center. So I agree with Brown being a fine play. He's always a little underpriced looking, but on this slate, there are a lot of better game environments to target also that we'll get to. So fine with Brown, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, if you're just looking for the right play or the best play on paper, like Bridges and Denny immediately stand out as superior plays to Jaylen Brown. I think you can play Jaylen Brown, and Jaylen Brown would be fine. And his usage is insane. Like he just is not, in terms of where his usage and talent is and where his production is, it doesn't align whatsoever. I think at some point, I think you've said this before too, like at some point, all these guys are going to start hitting their shots. Pritchard, White, and Brown, and they're going to nuke. So it's always possible, and they're fine. But yeah, I'm just not getting there right now. All right, Cavs, that is a really good source of value. We opened up the day, and I think last night somebody was like, how many Cavs are too many Cavs? And we're all like, probably going to play 3 or 4 Cavs. You don't have to now. Like we have enough value that you don't have to play all these Cavs. I still think there's at least 2 that look really good. And then there's a couple more that we could certainly still entertain playing. So Jarrett Allen comes in with the best projection. I think I'm okay getting away from him just because there's better low end value. And then like the studs on this slate that we would want to pay for are centers. So I feel like Jarrett Allen's kind of in no man's land. Good play for sure, but not really a high usage guy in general. So I'm not really sure all these starters being out changes that much. I do think DeAndre Hunter looks really good. I think DeAndre Hunter, the price point sucks, but the matchup with the Heat is good. Going to have a lot of usage here. And then Sam Merrill at 4.5K. He looks really good, shooting guard eligible. So it kind of helps you solve that shooting guard spot. Not an amazing projection for either of these guys, but Merrill is cheap enough that I don't really care. And DeAndre Hunter's usage is going to be so good that I think he'll smash this price tag.
Yeah, it kind of makes me nervous with Cleveland resting Mitchell, Garland, and Mobley in this one. That like, are they really going to extend Hunter and Allen?
That's fair.
But they do project well. I'm getting a lot of Hunter right now at 6,500, which feels like a premium for him, and it is. But Miami's just an awesome matchup. Like they run at the fastest pace in the league this season. They're still okay defensively, but the pace is so fast that more possession means more opportunities, of course. So happy with Hunter. I'm okay with Allen. He's not someone who's historically going to see like a ton of usage ever, but there is a lot of opportunity. Someone has to score for this team, I would think. So fine with Allen. Okay with Merrill. I'm always kind of concerned about playing a shooter into ownership like that. Like if he happens to have an off night, he's tanking 40% of the lineups in the field. But cheap enough, good positional at shooting guard, like you said. Lonzo, same thing. It helps that you can play him at shooting guard. I just think there's other better value at point guard on the slate. Greg Porter at 3-2. I don't really know what to say. Like, I think he's so cheap that it's kind of hard to get away from that in a lot of cases. So if some of these other Cavs are going to be more popular, like Alonzo, if he's more popular than Craig Porter, I feel kind of better about just taking the discount with Porter, even though he's only point guard eligible. Just he's going to have to play minutes, even if it's off the bench. He's historically a decent per minute guy also. We'll get some usage. So hard to love that. Like Tyrese Proctor, I guess you can consider. Larry Nance is questionable also if he's out. Maybe someone like Dean Wade looks better, but these are kind of just guys I don't ever want to target, especially into ownership. So happy with her, happy with Allen, fine with Merrill, fine with Porter. Don't really want to deal with the rest of it.
I feel like volume would make Merrill like a lot safer than we would think is for a guy who's so shooting dependent, because the Heat defend the three pretty well, actually really well. But they give up so many threes that they give up a lot of made threes because they run so fast and teams have to shoot to keep up with them. So I think this could be a really big game for Sam. He's going to be owned, so it's not like I'm giving you a hot take there. I just think that it's like kind of a mixed bag. Like the matchup could be bad, but the way the Miami Heat play, it's probably going to be totally fine. I don't like Craig Porter Jr. into ownership. The minutes, like he'll get 20, 25 minutes, but he kind of he hasn't done that much this year when he's gotten a bigger role. Small sample size, but I'm a little worried about him. I also feel like we don't need to do that. Like if he started, I'd feel a lot better about him. But otherwise, he could just play like 18, 20 minutes or something. Like Lonzo Ball still exists. He's still going to play like 25, maybe even push 30 minutes here. Like I feel like he played 27 minutes not that long ago. Like they could extend him a little bit. And then there is Karis LeVert, or no, not Karis LeVert. I mean, there is Merrill. Obviously, you mentioned Tyrese Proctor. So like they do have a couple bodies here still. It's not like we're coming out with like an 8-man rotation, right? So I think there's risk there that I don't think we have to do.
What do you think? I mean, it's risky, but it's also kind of mitigated by 3,200. Like he's so cheap that you don't need him to get 70 to be a good play.
Well, no, you do not need him to get 70 to be a good play.
But like, I think I had a lot more interest in him earlier before we had this Milwaukee stuff and potentially Chicago and Detroit things happening.
I also think it's going to come down to like what you want to do. Like if you really are hell bent on getting Wemby, I think Craig Porter does make sense. But if you're cool with kind of going second tier and avoiding like the 9K and above guys for the most part, or just fading Wemby, I guess, then Craig Porter Jr. becomes less necessary. So you just don't have to take on that kind of risk. If he starts, I think then he'd be a core play for me. But the fact that he's coming off the bench and Lonzo's still there has me hesitant. Don't want to spend too much time here on the Cavs, but one question I wanted to ask you, obviously Jarrett Allen's not a very high usage guy. Like he projects really well, but do you have any concern about the fact that they're resting all these other guys and like maybe like Jarrett Allen is like kind of like starter in name? Like you mentioned, like you're a little bit worried that they might not fully extend Jarrett and DeAndre. Like I feel like we've seen this story before. I feel like we've seen all these other guys sit and then Jarrett goes out there and like plays like 22 minutes or something stupid like that.
I don't think he'll be that limited unless the game is like a massive blowout, which I don't think it will be. I feel pretty confident he would see like 28 to 30. And in those minutes, in theory, he's going to be more involved than he would be with the regular starters. So I think he's a fine play. I do have just concerns in general. He's not going to play 35 minutes in all likelihood, but he's cheap-ish at center, so I'm okay with it.
Okay. All right. Other side, Miami, like you said, they play very fast, hot shooting team. You got Norm Powell, you got Andrew Wiggins, Jaime Jaquez. All those guys can shoot and dominate in isolation, namely Norm. So they look totally fair, but the prices have come up. So no Bam. There is usage to go around, and the way they play kind of makes like these projections feel a little bit light, especially since Cleveland's defense is not going to be as good as it normally is. So I think they're fine. I just don't think on this slate any of them are priorities. I just don't see any of them that I absolutely have to get to.
Yeah, I don't think projections can really take into account how much the Cavs defense is going to be worse than normal without those injuries. Like it just has the metrics from the season and previous seasons or whatever.
Yep.
So it's not really giving you a full picture of what the situation actually is. I'm pretty heavily over the field on everyone here. I just think like if I'm playing a lot of Cleveland, which as of now I am, running it back with completely unowned Miami Heat makes a lot of sense. So Khalil Ware is the one I'm getting to the most, 6,500. No Bam. Jared Allen, obviously not the easiest matchup, but Ware is still decently priced. He's not going to be owned at all. And Allen in that range is going to get a lot of ownership. I think Miles Turner might now. Bobby Portis, cheaper center option who should get some steam. I think Ware has like a slate breaking ceiling, and no one's going to play him in this spot. I really love that. Davion, fine. I think Wiggins and Powell are pretty good plays with high usage on this team. Don't mind Jaime Jaquez ever, but he's 7,300 coming off the bench, so that's kind of a premium to pay for him. But we have seen him like just shatter slates lately, so I guess you can argue there's still some upside with him. Pele Larson, decent unknown cheap play. Jovic has shown some upside, but don't love that. So yeah, I kind of like the Miami side of this game.
I mean, in terms of pace of play, I'm with you. I don't love the price points or where the projections are right now, but I do agree, like I was kind of suggesting that without their main guys, Cleveland's defense is not going to be as good. So if Miami comes out and this turns into, a sprint here, it definitely could be a good spot that honestly could go pretty overlooked for the Miami side. But like I said, also, I'm not as into Cavs as I was earlier in the day. So I'm not going to feel the need as much to go do that. But I think it's a pretty cool strategy. Good
It
shout.
is a really good spot for Cleveland. Like Miami is so fast and these guys are so cheap. And
Right.
there's so much usage suddenly available that if newer value gets people off them, then I'm more interested in the Cavs than the field.
Yeah. I have not budged on Merrill and Hunter. I'm undecided what I want to do with Jared Allen and whether or not I'm going to punt with Craig Porter. We'll see. I think those guys are absolutely good plays. It's just going to depend on what else comes out. Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler in the Warriors-Spurs game. Not really into that necessarily. We do have ceilings there. Curry is battling an illness, so that's not fun. Spurs are really good defensively. Kuminga's 8K. Okay, whatever, dude.
Kuminga's questionable also.
Yeah, and he's questionable. So obviously that could be a boost for some of the guys on the bench here. Al Horford's also questionable. So Quinton Post season at 4.8.
Horford's out.
Yeah, okay, so there you go. So I suppose Post would be an okay value. Don't think he's really a necessary value given what else is out there. I don't really see anything that I love here. I think you can always play Curry and GPPs. I think you can play Jimmy Butler as well at that price. But Jimmy feels a little bit priced up, and Curry is not like 100%, so I don't think I really want to play with that.
Yeah, the only way I'm playing anyone on Golden State is if Kuminga's out, and I might play some Jimmy or some Draymond. But Draymond is 6,900. Or is that FanDuel?
Steep.
Yeah. No, it's DraftKings.
It's DraftKings is 69.
That's pretty wild.
Todd is 6'6". I mean, if I'm playing,
it's a bad matchup. It's a deep rotation. I do not want anything here.
Now Post is questionable too. So somebody Baddest123 said Jared Allen was iffy. Now I don't know if he's just saying like now he's not so sure about it based on what we said, or if Jared Allen's questionable or not. But yeah, like I would entertain shooting for the skies with Steph if I'm playing Wemby. I think that's interesting, like a Wemby versus Steph battle. Steph is just GPP for life. I don't think anybody else looks good here. I guess if Kuminga's out, it changes things a little bit for me, but I don't even really want to play Steph, to be honest. On the other side, you do have Wemby. He's going to have the best projection of the slate now at 57 fantasy points. It's not really that good of a matchup. Draymond is still there. Golden State is a good defensive team. So I don't know. It doesn't feel like the best spot to pay almost 12K for somebody. It just feels like a really good spot to not, if everybody's going to be doing that. I would imagine he's going to get major steam now because all this value. Like where one of the biggest things is like, where do I go with 3.2K Craig Porter and 3.9 Paul Reed? If I'm having all these value pieces, where do I go with my money? So you can definitely play Wemby. The ceiling and floor is there, but a lot of things just point me to not being a fan of that. And Castle, Fox, I think the value goes to Fox there at 7.1K, but I'm not really excited to play them either. If I do anything in this game at all, it's Wemby and Steph, and that's probably it.
I'll get some Wemby, just kind of the nature of the slate. Like if Kate is out, like you said, there's really no one else to pay all the way up for. and he's not that expensive at 11.6. Like, he kind of took a step back after his hot start, bounced back in like the best possible matchup in the last game against Chicago. So this is a far worse spot. He's Wemby. He can break any slate. I will get some
Yeah.
of him, probably like 15% maybe in a multi-entry, but that's not like a hard stand. I think the
No.
ownership is going to be there on him, given the value. Fox and Castle are okay. I think Fox is still too cheap for who he is, but I don't love the spot for him either. So not a game I really want to get into.
No, I think it's very simple for me. For Wemby, it's if he's going to be super owned, just definitely going to fade that. And if he's going to be overlooked for whatever reason, then it's time to consider him in tournaments. Washington in Houston, Godspeed. They are big underdogs here on the road. Alexander Sarr always looks decent at 7.3K. I think he's an okay play. He's not going to be owned at all. Don't love him in this spot going against Şengün and a good Houston defense, but he is a great permanent guy. Nobody else really looks like McCollum's been on a heater the last 2 games. Not going to bet on that staying the course here against the Rockets, but at 6-1, if that's who he is, all of a sudden, I guess that's too cheap. And Keyshawn George at 6K, similar story. I don't know, man. I just don't think it looks good for them. If I did anything with the Wiz, it's probably going to be Sarr, but even that feels like a bit of a reach on this slate.
Yeah, this is a pretty dreadful spot. I think CJ is still a good price. And he's kind of come back a little bit after a rough start, but
yeah,
I don't know, man. I think you can take a shot on Cam Whitmore in a revenge game. 3,500. He's
3.5.
He's been playing the last couple games. The first one, I think, was without Middleton, maybe, but without Koulibaly, like he's kind of playing a little bit more lately. And I think he's just a pivot off of some of the other cheap value that's going to be owned. Not someone I'm going to be playing with a lot of volume. Star, Keyshawn, not for this slate, probably.
I mean, it is a 16-point spread. I will say this. If you are going to go play Şengün, Amen Thompson, KD, any of those guys, and they all look really good, then going and getting a Sarr or one of these other whiz guards is totally in play. The nice thing is George and CJ don't cost anything. So, like, in terms of the role they have and the upside they would bring to the table if this game did stay close, they do look appealing in that regard. So if you want to go that route, you can. I think you can certainly just stack up Rockets and forget the Wizards as well. So Şengün looks like a god on the slate, pushing a 50-point fantasy projection. If I'm choosing between him and Wemby, it's him all day right now, if we can ignore ownership. And again, like if the ownership keeps flocking to Wemby, Şengün against the Wizards, a little bit overlooked. That's insane, right? So I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but if it does, sign me up for Şengün all day. KD remains very scoring dependent. It's the Wizards. So that might not matter. He projects really well. I prefer Amen Thompson still. He does not project as well as Durant does, but I just feel like he's the better play. And then if you want to get into the weeds here with Jabari Smith, Tari Eason, even Steven Adams at 4K, the minutes are not amazing for these guys, but it is the Wizards, and there's blowout potential. So somebody like Tari Eason off the bench, that's kind of appealing, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good spot. Houston is probably going to score like 130 to 140 points in this game. So I don't feel fully inclined to bring a Wizard back. I'm getting a lot of Houston, I think, just because there is so much value and there is so little else to pay out for. Şengün's great. I love Kevin Durant, 8K flat, cheap. It's the Wizards. I'm happy to play him on this slate for like the first time all season, essentially. I about Amen being a pretty good play. 8,100, especially if Şengün is going to be chalky, which I think he will be. My favorite play on the Rockets is someone you did not name, and that is Reed Shepherd at 4,400, point guard, shooting guard. He's been getting the minutes lately. I think he closed the last game. He's kind of gaining some steam, gaining some confidence. They're playing the Wizards. If the game blows out, I think he's going to get some minutes. If it doesn't blow out, I think he'll get enough minutes to pay off 4,400. And he's going to go completely overlooked with guys like Lonzo and all these other guards that we talked about who are cheap. And I think Reed Shepherd has a stable role. There's a low floor, of course. Like he's shown a low floor this season, but I don't imagine the Wizards are going to give him a lot of trouble. So at low ownership, as a cheap card with some upside, I think Reed's a pretty good play.
I do think he's an interesting call for tourneys because he is in a position and price point that Jenkins and Sam Merrill share. Those guys are going to be owned in the event Cade is out. So you could certainly bet on one of them failing. Both of them could fail. So for those reasons, I don't hate it at all. I think that is interesting. Just not a safe play, obviously, whatsoever. But yeah, Rockets, man, it's the Wizards. When in doubt, stack against the Wizards, I guess. Portland against the Pels, they also are in a smash spot. This game has a really nice total, 230.5, and we also have an 8-point spread, so obviously that's not great. But Denny, the god, has been amazing lately. 58 plus fantasy points in 2 of his last 3, 43 plus in each of his last 4. He is feeling it right now. He looks awesome at 8.7. I think if you want to kind of split him and Miles, like I think pairing them is a really good way to go. But if you want to split them, you can play the ownership game there and just see who comes in with more ownership before lock and go the other way. Drew still looks really good. I prefer him very much so on FanDuel. $700 cheaper over there. He looks awesome on FanDuel. He looks like a decent, rock-solid play here against the Pels. A little bit of revenge narrative too. But 7.5K, that's a high enough that he's not like an absolute smash here, but pretty close. Like he's still really good. Jalen Sharp, Kamara, just fine plays. Klingon 5.4. I think that like any of the Blazers you could talk me into in tournaments, but definitely starting with Denny, and then if I get to Drew, I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah. An 8-point spread's not going to scare me away. Like if it's an 8-point game with 5 minutes left, the starters are out there. So not too concerned about that. I think the Houston game has a lot more blowout risk, of course.
16 points.
So Avdia, I'm good with. Drew, I'm good with. Kamara is pretty cheap. Klingon in a really good matchup for him. The minutes have not really been there, but he's 5,400. He's a good per minute guy. Maybe this is a spot to look his way at low ownership. Jeremy Grant off the bench. I don't love that, but he does get a lot of usage. Small forward, power forward is also a little helpful. So Shaden's a little expensive for me, I think, even though he does lead the team in usage. But, Avdia, great play. Everyone else is kind of a secondary play.
I'm old enough to remember a time when we played Jeremy Grant at will all the time. But yeah. Blazers look great. On the other side of the Pels, if they can keep it close, Trey Murphy at almost 8K is in play for sure. Solid projection. Not the best spot for him, obviously, but if you are going to play Blazers, he is probably the first guy to look at. Jeremiah Fears still has a role and is cheap. He is a rookie, and he is volatile as hell. So I don't think he's a must whatsoever. The ownership, I don't really trust that at 22%. So I would imagine that would dip based off the other value we have. I will say, in the name of Merrill and Jenkins and some other value that could drop, he is interesting in tournaments if his ownership comes down, just because he would be a little bit of a spend up over those guys and just would be a little bit more contrarian, by comparison. Herbert Jones, Queen, Sadiq Bey, they're okay. Just not really the best spot, and there's other values that look better on the slate. It's really, like, if I really want to get here, it's going to be Murphy and then perhaps Fears.
I actually think it's a really good spot for New Orleans, with Portland being second in the league in pace. So it's a pretty good matchup. They're at home. The game doesn't have a super wide spread, even though the Pelicans are trash. So no Zion, no Poole opens up a lot of ownership. And I think Trey Murphy, like if people are paying down shooting guard for guys like Merrill, whoever else opens up on Detroit, I think paying up for Murphy is pretty awesome. And if I'm playing Portland, Abdia, Holiday, whoever, running it back with Trey looks really good to me. I think Sadiq Bey is one of the better cheap plays on the slate at small forward, power forward. Don't mind looking his way. Derek Queen, my guy Derek Queen is still under 5K. The minutes have not been great. And Misi came back in the last, or did he actually play? I know he was available. No, he did not play. So I assume Misi will be in the rotation a little bit, but Queen at 4.9, I think still has some upside in this spot in his role. Fears, I agree, very volatile play, but in a tournament, that's okay. Herb Jones, I just prefer Bay at a cheaper salary.
Yeah, I mean, good shout on the pace of play here. I think for that reason, for sure, I just, beyond Murphy, they kind of all eat into each other a little bit. They have Misi back. Fears is super volatile and could just get benched at any moment. So for those reasons, I'm not really in on them personally. All right, last game tonight, Phoenix in Dallas. Dallas in shambles. Trade Luka, fire Nico, and now they're going to just tear it all down. Seems a bit rash, doesn't it? Just like across the board, just super rash around here. You like trade Luka because he drinks too many beers after going to the freaking finals, and then the next year, like 10 games in, you fire everybody and trade them? What are you doing? I don't know. It seems like if you were like, yeah, I like that plan, you'd give it more than like a month and a half. Personally, I think
It was a pretty untenable situation. Like they couldn't keep Nico Williams
they shouldn't
Nico
have
Harrison around
in the first place, and they shouldn't have approved that trade. It's the worst trade in sports history.
Well, yeah, but you can't go back in time, so you might as well just get rid of that moron right away.
All right, so the Suns are visiting Dallas. Devin Booker, this is a good recency bias play. Almost the same price point as Şengün, and just nobody's going to play Devin Booker on this slate. Even with the stud options dropping like flies, he does look appealing in terms of, hey, where is a contrarian play that can get me 55 to 60 fantasy points? He is the guy. I don't really find myself getting there. I'd rather just play the safe guy in Şengün and hope he either gets it in 3/4 or that game stays close somehow. But Booker does look interesting for GPPs. I'm not betting on Grayson Allen hitting 10 threes again. So for me, he's priced up a little bit. I think he's an okay play, but I'm not going to do that. And nobody else really stands out. Like Dylan Brooks, like I said the other day, like he does get pretty good usage. And Jalen Green's still out. So I think he's an okay play at 6K. I just don't see myself getting to Grayson Allen and Dylan Brooks with other guys looking a little bit more appealing below and above them. But hey, if you want to play an unknown Devin Booker to close out the slate, I'm not against that at all.
Yeah, he's okay. I don't love that he's point guard only. I feel like that is very annoying. So I'm getting a little of him. He's the only Sun I'm currently getting to at all. It's just kind of a deep, gross team with a bunch of the same wing types running around out there around him. Mark Williams, I was in on the other night, and he let me down in a big way. So,
classic.
I don't know. Williams. Booker's fine. I don't really want to deal with anything else.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's Booker or bust for me. Mavs on the other side, Anthony Davis is questionable and sure to get traded eventually. So wouldn't be that shocked if he just doesn't play here. If he doesn't play, Cooper Flagg and PJ Washington will get massive boosts. I like both of them. If that's the case, I lean towards PJ. The Suns are pretty mid on the interior with Mark Williams being their primary defender. So they would look good. Brandon Williams joined the starting lineup. Got 33 minutes. See ya, D'Lo. RIP. But Brandon Williams will look pretty damn good at 4.9K here. I think it's 4.9. 4.7, even better. Especially with like a similar price point guards being on this slate. I feel like Brandon Williams is a really good play and weirdly just like completely ignored right now. That is if he does start and we can feel good about him pushing for 30 minutes again. I don't mind taking the chance in tournaments. Anthony Davis, if he's in about 10K against the Suns, kind of could absolutely nuke. But it's Anthony Davis. The only time I played him this year, he got hurt. So I don't really want to play him.
It's interesting with AD because I thought he was going to come back like on Saturday, and he's missed 2 more games. I think I saw that he wants to be back, but the team's like waiting to bring him back. I don't know what's going on with them. But he's 9,900. No one's going to play him if he's in. The first game he played, I think, for Dallas, he was coming off an injury, a lower body injury just like this one, and he was trending for like 40 minutes in that game after missing several weeks. It seems like Jason Kidd is just kind of happy to throw him to the fire, even after an injury. So if he's in, I think there's a chance we see like 35 minutes of AD at 1% ownership. So I will be not heavily invested in that, but I'll pretty over the field, maybe like 5-8% on him if we get that news in time, of course. If he's out, I think guys like Flagg and PJ, Brandon Williams look a little bit more viable. Flagg, we finally saw break out in the last game. His positional stuff is still all over the map. He's shooting guard only now. But if AD is out, I think that's a reasonable enough price point in a decent spot to consider him again.
Yeah, like I'm not even opposed to just putting AD in there at the utility spot, and then if he is out, I could just drop down and eat a little bit of cash and go to Devin or something. I don't think that's the worst strategy in the world. Ideally, you're not doing that, but I mean, if we don't get the news, there's nothing really protecting us because I think that game's on an island, isn't it? At 8:30, half hour
Sure
after
is.
the last set of games locked. So I think that's an okay way to go about it because I do still like Devin and don't think he's going to be owned. And then Davis, like, there's no real reason for anybody to risk it on this slate other than, like you said, get a monster at no ownership. Although he hasn't played in like 13 days, man. Like, it's been a bit, like, or
Well,
15,
I mean, that's what I
15 days.
said. Like, that was true when he made his team debut. He hadn't played in like several weeks or a month, and then
And they
suddenly
just
he's
drove him
playing
into the
40
ground.
minutes. Yeah,
Maybe he
he got
doesn't
hurt
like.
again.
Don't you think an often injured guy like Anthony Davis would not be a fan of that?
I feel like he would want to play to prove that he's not made of glass, even though he is.
I mean, I feel like it's been proven that he is indeed made of glass, and there's nothing he can do to offset that belief and narrative. Okay, so that is going to do it for the game by game breakdown. Hopefully, this helps you out. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, come join us in Discord, and if you want core plays for the slate and NFL picks and everything else that we offer, it's just $5.99 for the entire month. Before we sign off, who's your favorite stud that you are building around on average for this slate?
Sorry, I just saw something about AD maybe being out, so see if that's true.
I also saw Bradley Beal just got ruled out for the year with hip surgery, so he's 80, and also the Clippers are just utterly dead.
Yeah, they do not look very good so far.
No.
Anthony Davis is out. Well, so much for all that. Wasted a bunch of time.
Hey, like I said, PJ and Cooper look fantastic with Brow out. They look great. And the thing is, they're probably still not going to be that owned because there's so much else to like on this slate. So if that is true and PJ and Flag go overlooked in terms of ownership, I love PJ Washington, and I am Cooper is so inconsistent that like it's a gap for me, but he would still also look pretty good. But in terms of like studs here, I am at currently, if Wemby is unowned, I'm game for paying almost 12K for Wemby. If Wemby's owned, though, I think I'm going to go full Şengün or lower in terms of studs. I guess I should say Devin Booker or lower because I think where I think the ownership is going to be, Devin Booker is a little bit appealing.
Yeah, I think I'm with you that not paying all the way up for Wemby is just kind of the way I want to build. I love the Houston stuff, KD, Amen, Şengün. Probably not all of them, but I think individually they're all strong plays. Avdia, Trey Murphy, a couple of really strong mid-range guys. Miles Bridges, same stuff. So there's a lot to like in the mid-range. Cade, if he's in, is probably the option, I guess.
Yeah.
But kind of don't feel like he will be.
It is trending that way indeed. All right. Thanks for watching, and we wish you luck tonight. Let's catch you next time.
52 minutes.